It's great to be with you tonight, and I appreciate the opportunity. When Scott called, I said, Scott, you guys must really be desperate. You are scraping the bottom of the barrel to bring me up here, I'll tell you. So I appreciate the opportunity, though. It's great to be back on campus and see all the good things that have gone on. President Kemper has done a fantastic job. It's good to see all of the new buildings and the enrollment going up and the acknowledgement of the college in the area. Of the university in the area. And that's hard for me to break. Every time somebody talks to me, I have to stop myself and say Grace Christian University. But it's really good to be here. And I really do appreciate the opportunity. It's good to see some old friends and even people that I attended school here with a long time ago as a student. And boy, times have really changed in a good way. If I'd known this was going to be streaming live, I would have changed my message tonight. So I wouldn't call so many names out, embarrass people, but I'm going to do it anyway. But what I want to talk to you tonight about is how do you get a new focus in your church or organization? How do you start that? And I've got is this the clicker here? What I'm supposed to use? There it is. Am I not doing it? Uh-oh. Well, there you go. Creating a new focus requires going back to the basics to achieve a desired result, right? And since athletics is a good analogy, I'm going to use it because I'm a coach, and that's what I do. Thank you. So what I want to do right now, I want to invite a couple of people that were former athletes here, played for me. And the first one I want to call up is Pastor John Mower Louder. Now, John, come on. Now, John is my pastor. This is a great relationship because I was his youth director back in Mobile, Alabama when he was like in 5th or 6th grade or something like that. And now he's my pastor. And I count it a real privilege. It's an honor. It's just great. And he's doing a fantastic job. But what I want to explain to you is how he got the nickname Mower. Now, John was one of our soccer players, and so I thought, hey, nobody better to mow our soccer field than a soccer player, right? Because, they know how to take care of it. They're going to make sure they do a good job. Nothing's going to go wrong. It's all going to be great. So John was working on grounds. We thought, hey, this is great. Let John do it because he'll take good care of it. And one day John came to me and he kind of quiet and he goes, Coach, something happened. And I said, well, let's talk about it, John. What went on? What happened here? And he goes, well, behind the goal there, you got to, there's the fence and the goal. And he said, I was mowing and I mowed right over the soccer net. And he just tore that thing up to shreds. I said, John, don't you know that the soccer net needs to be rolled up and hung a little off the ground so it's not going to get run over? And I said, Coach, I just didn't think about that. But I'm going to stay up here, okay? Because your next teammate up here, I want to call him up. Go ahead and switch the slide for me here. Is Josh Fireman White, Reverend White. Now he got that nickname because he was leaving Grace after a year because he wanted to be a fireman. And so he left and he was going to do all that and he went home and he worked out and he got all ripped and he was ready to go and the fire thing didn't work out for him, so he came back. But the nickname stuck, so so you stay up here. So the third one I want to bring up here is another athlete. Go ahead and switch that. This is Mark. Mark Fabio Bruiser. I don't think I have to explain anything about the nickname, so we're just going to leave it alone right there, right? Okay, this is going to, there's a purpose behind this, believe it or not. We'll get to it.
Clicker to the next picture, please.
I don't even know how to use this thing. Which one do I push? That one? Okay. So, soccer ball. Okay? When we had practice every year, I'm going to put these guys on the spot. This may be a train wreck. It's like bringing children up on the stage. You never know what they're going to say. I don't know. So I'm taking a big risk here. I want you to know this. But the first day of practice, the first time we ever meet, we go up to the field. What did we do? Well, what did I do? We'd get around in a circle. We'd have the team there. What was the first thing I'd say? Do you remember?
This is a soccer ball.
You got it. Give them a hand. Yeah. Man, I was worried about that. I didn't know what they were going to say, so they did good. Yeah, this is a soccer ball. That's the first thing I said. You know why? Because I had a lot of players that had never played soccer. But they wanted to play on the team. So we couldn't start practice like we would at the end of the season, or like we would with a whole bunch of players who had been playing all their life, because I had guys that didn't even know what a soccer ball felt like or how to kick it. The second and third practices, we would just go up and kick the ball on the kickboard just to get used to the ball coming off the foot. We didn't even go out and play a game. We didn't go out to the field hardly at all. We stayed up there and just learned how to kick, learn how to kick, learn how to kick. Now, talking about organizational structure and churches and trying to find how to do things new and how to accomplish goals and all of those kind of things, sometimes we forget that we just need to explain this is a soccer ball. And if we leave out those fundamentals, we leave out a lot. This was the end result. We started off with this is a soccer ball, and we had a goal to do something. But you talk about a bunch of misfits. I mean, I'm telling you, it was like... But this was the end result right there. Okay? So keep that in mind as we go through some of this. The first thing, if you're going to do something new and you want to start something new in your church, I want to encourage you to take an inward focus. An inward focus. I know we've had some discussion here at the conference about affecting an outward focus. But before we think about outward, I think we got to think about inward, both personally and within leadership as well as your organization. So here's a few questions that I've put up that I want you to just look at. I'm going to give you a lot of information. It's going to be like drinking out of a fire hose tonight because I kind of get in my teacher mode and I like to present nuggets more. I'm not a preacher. And I had to think about this. My dad and Dr. Jack Dean would probably fall over right now if they saw that I was here speaking at a GGF leadership conference. But I'm really glad to be here. So here's what I want you to think about. Do you have the right infrastructure in your organization or in your church to be successful? Is it in place? Do you have the right infrastructure? Now, with a lot of churches, and especially within GGF churches, because most of our churches are rather small, we don't have a strong infrastructure. And we have a lot of volunteers. We don't have a lot of paid staff. And that's hard. That is really hard to deal with a lot of volunteers because you know why? Not a lot of accountability. So you really have to work on that infrastructure and get people in that can do the job, even if it's a smaller group. Sometimes it's not the largest group or the most numbers, it's the quality of the group that you have to be able to affect the result that you want to get. Are you giving careful consideration to address the whys? Why are you pursuing a new focus? That could be a good thing or a bad thing, couldn't it? Think about that. That could be good or bad. In other words, you may be pursuing something new because something isn't working. It's not good. And we're going, hey, we need to start over. Like, this isn't working and we got all these issues, so let's start over. Let's start a new endeavor here. Or it could be great and you're doing great and you're growing and things are going good and you've kind of plateaued and you're saying, hey, what's the next thing? Now what can we do? Let's take it to the next level. So it could be both. Okay? So, but you need to understand why you're pursuing a new focus. Why are you doing that? It's very dangerous for an organization to make decisions without knowing why they're doing it. I've been involved in a lot of churches. I've seen a lot of churches where it's almost like weekly. It seems like weekly, but it's not. It's like monthly or maybe quarterly, and they throw things against the wall and say, I hope this sticks. Boom, let's try that. Oh, that didn't work. Let's go over here. We throw it against the wall over here. I hope that sticks and works, and let's try that. And then somebody comes up and says, well, I just read this book, and let's try this. And you just are constantly in that, let's try, let's do. All right? And you just cannot succeed that way. You have to understand why you are doing something, stay on course with it. Do you understand the motivation driving the direction? That's what I was just talking about. What's your motivation? If your motivation is to grow, what type of growth are we talking about? I think there's 3 types of growth. And I think they all 3 impact each other. Spiritual growth should be the priority. That should be number 1, right? Grow spiritually in your relationship with the Lord. Grow spiritually in your relationship with each other, in your organization, your church. That spiritual growth should, okay, promote numerical growth. And if it's not, you really need to take a hard look at the infrastructure and take a hard look at the church to say, are we in a cocoon? And we're all just growing each other within the cocoon and it's not having the impact outside? Well, that's not what you want. I think the goal would be to share what we have to where it impacts someone else, to where they want to be a part of what we are part of. So the third one would be financial growth. If you have spiritual growth, you're going to have some numerical growth. If you have numerical growth, you're going to have more people. You have more finances. What does that do? That gives you more resources. That enables you to do more, think more, create more, impact your community more. Okay? The next one. Are you pursuing the focus with shared assumptions? When I'm working part-time for my pastor, he asked me to come in and do an assessment, a 360 assessment, everything top to bottom at our church. I said, I will do it under 2 assumptions. I said, the first assumption is that Frontline Bible Church desires to grow in those 3 areas. I said, if you don't desire to grow, wasting my time. I could do a full assessment, but if you're really not after growth, that work won't do you any good. Okay? I said the second assumption is this, that the board of directors at our church will be active participants in the process. And I said, if those 2 assumptions are correct assumptions, and we can put those down on my agreement so that we have it down on paper and we can refer back to it to hold each other accountable that those 2 assumptions are correct assumptions, I said, then I'm in. So I operated and have been operating under those assumptions that those 2 things are a desire for Frontline Bible Church. So I'm asking you, are you pursuing a focus? If you're pursuing a new focus, is it with assumptions that you are sharing with your organization? You see, it doesn't really do any good. If if I'm the coach, okay? So if I'm the coach and I've got a plan and I never share that plan with my players, and I've got a great plan, and I don't put any of those ideas into their head, or I don't share the assumptions that I have for the game with them, and I say, okay, let's go out and play the game, and we're getting, we're just running them down the field and nothing's happening, and they're looking at me and I'm going, come on guys. Well, see, if I haven't shared that with them and they don't know what they're supposed to do and what the expectations are, they can't be successful. And it's the same way with any organization. That shared assumptions is vitally important so everyone is on the same page, going in the same direction. Have you conducted a 360 assessment? It's a very interesting process. One of the things that I'm doing at our church is I'm interviewing people, all the leadership. Anyone that has been in any leadership capacity at the church, I'm interviewing them. I have 10 questions. The average, I've been timing it, the average length of time that I'm spending with each individual for those 10 questions in the assessment, average, 2 hours and 15 minutes. You know what that means? It means people have something to say. It means they have a lot to say. And it's been very valuable. It's been good. It's been a joy to hear that heartbeat and to hear the good things and also hear the frustrations. But it's good. It's going to help our church become more healthy, be able to deal with it, because now we're going to deal with some objective data rather than just perception or trying to figure it out on our own. Number 2, culture needs to be developed and pursued with intentionality. Culture needs to be pursued with intentionality. Understand where you have been. That's important. I'm sure that President Kemper has been very involved in this process with this university here. You understand where you've been, the history, you understand the culture. The culture that was here when I was a student isn't the culture that's here today. The culture that was here when I taught here for 10 years is not the same culture that is here today. That culture has shifted. It continues to shift with leadership and continues to shift with intentionality if you know where you want to go. You leave culture unto itself, it's going to take over by itself. It has to be intentional. You don't want to make the same mistakes over and over. Evaluate where you are right now. That's the second thing. Your current culture, so you understand the reality of your identity. The reality, right? Not the perception. A lot of people can bombard leadership with what they think, but it may not be the reality. It may just be their world and their own perception. You need to understand what is real within the culture. Okay? The next one, what are you willing, do you have buy-in to where you want to go? This is really important, especially within leadership, board, leaders, whatever it is. You talk about being out on an island, and I've been there. Some of the organizations I've been a part of, you get out on an island, you don't feel like anybody has the buy-in of where you're going, and you're just, you're pulling and pushing and trying to get people to move, and it's hard. That's a hard culture. So you have to have buy-in. And the last one is, and this is one I talk about when I talk to coaches. I do a lot of speaking to coaches and athletic administrators, that kind of thing. And they, over the years of coaching, I always had coaches come up and they're complaining about this athlete and this parent and that parent and blah, 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 blah. And then they come back to me 2 days later, same thing over and over. You know what it boils down to? It boils down to, what are you willing to tolerate? What are you willing to tolerate? Because if you're willing to tolerate something and you allow it to continue to happen, you know who's to blame? Yourself. Don't get mad at the people that continue to come back to you or the people that keep griping or whatever that is, because if you're tolerating it, you are enabling them to continue to do that. And in any kind of organization or leadership, that's a really tough environment. That is a really tough environment. Number 3, I think, if I can see back there, eliminate barriers that are prohibitive. Eliminate barriers that are prohibitive. Now, quick story. As was mentioned, I played a little music. Okay, so music was part of my life. And I was with the group, and we went down to Nashville to record a CD. So we recorded an album down in Nashville. We've got the group. We're all around there. We're in the studio, all the studio guys. And all of a sudden, we started talking about one of the songs that we wrote. We wanted to do it a certain way. We kept wanting to do it this way, and the producer was kind of, So finally, he looked at us, and he goes, look. He says, you can do it that way if you want, but it'll be dumb. Guess what? We did it his way. See? He had the right answer because he was in charge. He was the one who knew. We thought we had the right answer, but he's a pro. We had to listen to him and eliminate a barrier that would have been awful. Okay? So we had to get rid of that and allow the right thing to occur. Number 1, I don't know, this probably in politically correct term, but I'm going to use it anyway, insane leadership. You know what the definition of insane is, right? You do the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different result. You just keep doing the same thing over and over. I've been a part of churches, organizations, and every year the same thing comes up. We don't have enough people at Wednesday night prayer meeting. We don't have enough people in Bible hour. Okay, well, let's just keep doing it. It's going to change. The next year, I don't understand. We only have the same 2-3 people that come every week, and that's okay. Let's just keep doing it. And it just continues on, and you just keep thinking that something is going to change. It doesn't without making change. Sometimes you just got to step in and make that change. Okay? If you can eliminate those barriers, you're going to see success. Number 2, developing an unrealistic organizational structure or business model that is not attainable or sustainable. You ever been a part of that? Great goals. You can get in a room and everybody has these great ideas and you put them up on a whiteboard and it looks great and you go, man, this is awesome. Then you have to execute it. And then you're going, oh my goodness, what did we just bit off a lot more than we can chew. So what happens with that? Usually, failure. It means you have to stop something, you have to discontinue, you have to change. What does that do to people who are watching your leadership and watching your organization? What does that say about you? Think about that. Number 3, weak messaging or brand. Do your actions and words reflect your desired identity? Okay? Do your actions and words reflect your desired identity? You know, this university has a desired identity. Okay? They have a strong brand. They've done a good job of saying, this is who we are, this is what we want to do, this is who we want to be in the community, this is the kind of community we want on our campus. Okay? That messaging is strong, and in a church organization, it needs to be strong there as well. You need to make sure that people can see what they hear. If you say, come to our church, it's a dynamic church, it's great, we need to have you, come on and you're going to enjoy the praise band, it's going to be wonderful, and they get there and they see one guy with a guitar, and he's not that good a singer, and you just said, well, come, this dynamic, well, it didn't match up. So you have to eliminate that barrier, that threat. Make sure that everything matches up. And then be proactive rather than reactive. This is one of my favorite sayings. Lack of planning on your part does not constitute an emergency on my part. Amen? If you are in leadership, and especially in a church environment where you depend on people to run the organization effectively, if they drop the ball and then they come running to you, that is very frustrating because they've created something that they're expecting you to fix. And that's tough. That's another thing. If you're developing a new focus, something new, you have to identify that some of these things need to be dealt with before you launch. Okay? Otherwise, you're really going to be really pedaling uphill an awful lot. The next one, decisions need to be calculated and intentional. Max Dupree said a good leader anticipates the consequence of decisions. What's the most important word in that sentence? What do you think? Anticipates. That's the most important word in that sentence. A good leader will anticipate the consequence of their decision. Again, it's that proactive or reactive. Do you wait for it to happen and then you have to respond to it, or are you going to be proactive, anticipate the decisions you're making, have calculated risk, know what you're getting yourself into so you can manage it that way? No shortcuts or quick fixes. Ken, have you found shortcuts and quick fixes to your organization here? You just stay in it. You know, if you're looking for something, let's get back to this. See, no quick, I couldn't say, come on guys, let's go play. I couldn't get ahead of what we were able to do. We had to learn what this was first. We had to take time. Our goal was not to win every game. And you may be shocked at that, seeing what you saw up here with the banner. But our goal was to just get better. That was it. We're just going to improve, and we're going to try to ratchet it up every game to prepare us for conference tournament. Our goal was the tournament. Get better every game, so when we hit the tournament, we're going to be ready at that time. Because nobody cares about the season. If you got the banner in the picture up here for the rest of your life, they're not going to ask you what your record was. I bet you guys don't even know what your record was. But you remember that banner. Church organization, same way. You can't go straight to the banner. You have to start with the soccer ball. You've got to start low, slow, build up. It takes time, and you have to know and expect that it takes time. Okay? And you have to be willing to invest that time into it, because it's a marathon. Next one, it takes at least 4 years to start to see tangible results for culture change. I took an organization through culture change. I'm not going to go into it. I don't have time to go through it all, but I will tell you my experience was the aha moment that we had where we looked at it and went, oh, finally, we could see the culture change, was in the 4th year. And our goal was to never waver from the intentionality of what we wanted to develop that culture to be. In year 2, when I had people coming and going, I don't know, I'm not sure about it, I'm going, no, we're staying right here. Right here. We're staying in this lane. We're not going out of the lane. Way too early. Yeah, but no, we're staying right here. Now, if you can't handle that, maybe you need to find somewhere else that can get you there quicker, but we're going to stay right here. And that culture, once we got there, oh my goodness, what a exhale relief, and it was just wonderful. I mean, it was just fantastic to go through that and see it. Develop an organizational structure and business model. I know that, don't get mad when I say business model for churches or anything, okay? But an organizational structure is very important. If people in the church don't know who they're accountable to, and if it doesn't fit your mission and vision for the church, or if you don't have one, and if you have one, let me say this to you. follow it. Follow it. Because if you have an organizational chart where you say that this person is going to be accountable to that person, and that person is going to oversee this person, and this person, whatever that is, whatever that looks like in that hierarchy, make sure they follow it. Because once again, if they don't, it's going to create cynicism. It's going to create skepticism. The next time you say, I'm going to do something, they're going to go roll their eyes and go, yeah, right, okay. I'll wait till that happens. So if you're going to have an organizational structure and you have a hierarchy within your organization, you know what? Follow it. It's really important. It's a messy process. It takes a lot of effort, and you're going to get a little dirty in it. If you're going to start a new focus, and I'm going to tell you something, it's a whole lot easier to start a new focus with a brand new church. You go in and try to start a new focus with something that's already going on, you got your hands full, and it will be dirty. I don't care if it's church, I don't care if it's a business, it doesn't matter, and I've been a part of those too. I've had that experience. It's tough to go in to an existing organization and start something new. I hear it all the time, and I've heard it through my interviews. You know, I can't understand this church. This church just started down the street from us, and they've already got 400 people. And they've only been there less than a year. And here we are. We've been here 80 years, and we don't have that many. And I just, I'm going, hey, you know what, though? They started off, and they were clear in their message of who they were, what they were going to do. They were the shiny car. Nobody goes to a car lot and goes to the oldest car in the lot and open the door and start looking at all what it has. You go to a car lot, you want to see the new thing. You want to see what it looks like, all the new gadgets. You want to see what it is, Even if you're not going to buy it, you want to drive it, right? Well, that's what it is when you start up something new. If it's brand new, people are going to be attracted to it. If you're existing and you're changing gears and you're starting a new focus midstream, get your hands dirty. Get ready, because it takes a lot of work. It requires, again, no quick fixes. And you need to be driven to do better. Just do better. Good enough sometimes just isn't enough. I had an experience, and this is how I came up with this phrase. I called for a reference. I was getting ready to hire somebody, and I called one of the references, and it was somebody I knew, and they were an administrator. And they knew this person. I said, so tell me about him. We're really excited. They seem to have all the skill sets. They seem to have everything. And just quietly, he said these words, and then I hung up the phone. He said, Dave, I think you can do better. I said, thanks. That's all I needed to hear. I didn't need to hear why. I didn't need to hear an explanation. He was just telling me, Dave, you're setting the bar a little bit too low. Come on, raise the bar up a little bit. You can do better. And then that's the way it is sometimes in our ministry and sometimes in our church. We start off with the bar just way too low. We don't have the expectation to keep raising the bar. Yeah. So we need to do that. Pursue excellence. When I was at Cornerstone University, I had this phrase, and we had it up on the wall and in the weight room and stuff. It says, excellence is not an option. It's an expectation. I don't want to leave the door open for anything else. If I'm leading it, if I'm the leader, I don't want to leave the door open for anything else. Excellence it's not an option. If you're part of the organization, that becomes an expectation. Wouldn't it be great if everybody operated with that? That the expectation would be excellence, not just getting by, not just a little bit, see how little I could do, but how much I can do, the excellence part of it. If you do the right things for the right reasons, you'll never have regrets. If you do the right things for the right reasons, I don't care what it is. If you do it with integrity for the right reasons, you won't have regrets. And that's important in leadership. Be careful and strategic with how you pursue your objectives. Overpromising and underdelivering. We've talked about that. Boy, that's tough. When you overpromise and underdeliver, again, that skepticism, it's catastrophic to an organization. It produces cynicism, skepticism, a lack of credibility, and confidence in leadership. And it may be unintentional, but whether it's intentional or unintentional, it is a result. It occurs. And once you go down that road with your staff or leadership or people that you're leading, it's hard to get it back. It's hard to come back. The second one is you can't afford to be selective until you can afford to be selective. Okay, that sounds kind of weird, doesn't it? I'll give you an example. This is a university. Now, if I was to talk, do I have other administrators? Brian, who else is an administrator? Okay, so we've got some administrators. I'm going to talk to you. Would you love to have a student body of students that were all 3.8 GPAs and higher?
Sounds good.
Sounds good, doesn't it? That'd be fantastic. You kidding me? A school full of 3.8 or higher? Man, that'd be great. Every professor here would just be like, fantastic. It's wonderful. Okay? Why doesn't Grace University have all those students? Because the 3.8s and above can afford to be selective. So they're shopping. And they are looking for the very best value they can get because they are a 3.8 to 4. They've got the ability to do that. So that's true with any organization. You can't afford to be selective until you can afford to be selective. You can say, we want to have all this and all that in our church, and we're going to do this and all that. But can you really afford to do that? Are you there yet? Or is that an unrealistic expectation? Value is the key. If you're going to start up something new, you're going to have a new focus. Whatever that is, and you've identified the focus, what that focus is going to look like, it better have some value attached to it. Because value is the key. You determine value every day. You go to the store, you look at this box and that price, and you look at this box and that price, and you go, what's the best value? What's the best bang for my buck? You go with the best value, right? So if you're going to start a new focus in your church or your organization, whatever that is, add value. So, again, that you're eliminating some of the potential threats. So, what's your next step going to be? What's the next step in the process? If you're starting up a new focus in an organization and you're trying to get there, you're going to start here, or are you going to go further down into the practice and start somewhere else? What kind of things do you need to do as a leader to be able to make this happen, to execute it? I'm going to give you a few. What are you going to do with what you know? Motivate towards working together and networking. Man, is that important. Motivate towards networking together, working together, sharing ideas, sharing thoughts. It doesn't do any of us any good to hoard information and things at work. Think that we don't own any of that anyway. It all belongs to the Lord, doesn't it? If my church is thriving, my attitude should be, you guys need to know what we're doing. I want to see your church thrive. Matter of fact, I'll send my people over to yours for a while. because we want to see you grow and be successful. So that networking and supporting one another and reaching out to one another is critical. It's so important in leadership. And do it on a consistent basis. Don't just do it once a month. Do something right. How many of you have phones? Got a phone, cell phone? Take them out. Usually somebody's going to tell you to turn them off. I'm not telling you to turn them off. Take them out. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to take about 15 seconds. I want you to text somebody, church, type of leadership, any kind of thing. They may just be a whatever it is. Text them if you text. Thank you for what you really appreciate. Time, your talent, our church. Time. Text them 15, 20 seconds, okay? Or it could be, one caveat, can't be a family member. No family member. Okay? Somebody else. How am I doing time? Right? I'm going to keep going. Shouldn't take you that long. The second one is implement practical applications that can be successful if they're carried out. Again, we get back to calculated and intentional. That's the thing that I really want to focus on. It's not just doing something for the sake of doing it. Be intentional. Make sure it's calculated. You know, you have some idea where you're going to land. Eliminate fear from the process. Man, this is huge. I could have talked all night just on this. This is the single most prohibitive thing in organizational leadership. Fear. It prohibits growth. It prohibits forward movement. It prohibits relationships. Just fear. It's really interesting how much God emphasizes do not be afraid. I mean, it's all throughout Old Testament, New Testament. Just open your Bible. Probably going to find it somewhere on the page. Do not be afraid. Be of courage. Fear is a killer to organizational leadership. And if you're going to start a new focus, you can't be afraid. You just have to dive in and say, Lord, you've given us this new focus. If this is of you, we don't need to be afraid. We just need to go. And always maintain integrity in the process. Now, you know who really is in charge of maintaining the integrity in the process? Whoever's at the top. Ken is responsible for maintaining integrity in this organization. Pastor John is responsible for maintaining the integrity of Frontline Bible Church. That integrity piece is really important to your organization. And if you're starting something new, you're going to come up against a whole bunch of issues, and people are going to come against you, and they don't like it, and they don't like change, and they can't figure out why you're doing it, and they would rather have green carpet, and you want blue carpet, and they want, you know. So you got to maintain your integrity in how you deal with it. Make sure your motives are good. Make sure you're doing the right things for all the right reasons. Keep learning. And here's the last one. Encourage, encourage, encourage. Build your people up constantly to combat discouragement and validate their value and worth. Has anybody received a message back from anybody you text? Anybody? Somebody share some responses. I don't get too personal here, but just give me some responses. Thank you. Anybody else?
She said, thank you, I love what I do.
It's fantastic.
What do you want?
Yeah. Mark, why am I not surprised? I knew it was a risk to call on you and let you answer them. Anybody else? Any responses that you got back?
Sure was.
Good. Yeah.
He reached back and said,
I love you. That's great. It's amazing taking 15 seconds or so to write a little text to just say thank you, how far that goes. It doesn't take much. I mean, just think about it. I mean, you could text 10 people, 20 people out of a day, 15 seconds, thanks for what you do. Really appreciate you. Keep going. I notice. You know what that does to somebody? My goodness. I've kind of taken on a ministry of texting. I have some people that are really high-profile people. If I said their names, you'd know them. And I took it upon myself about 5 or 6 years ago to just start texting and encourage them because they're in the public eye. They're always, under scrutiny. It's just high pressure. Just always out on an island. I just started texting and go, hey, hang in there. Praying for you. Prayers continue. Keep going. Let me know what I can pray for. That thing just blossomed like you wouldn't believe. And the relationship was, just took off. It doesn't take much. It just takes a little time and a little effort. Well, thanks again for allowing me to be here. I sure appreciate the opportunity. And, Lord bless you if you're starting a new focus and you're trying to get started and make some changes in what you're doing in your church or your organization. I hope some of these things resonate and think about. And if I can ever be of help to you, let me know. But thank you very much.